My name is Margaret Leveson. People know me as Meg. I have been painting since I was a little girl. I used to go out with my doctor and paint outside. And so I started plein air painting when I was 8, 9 years old, watercolor. And for many years, I painted in that manner. And I didn't actually really start studying painting as an occupation until after I graduated from college, although I did go through art history in the University of Toronto. And I always loved, I grew up in Canada, so I used to go up to Algonquin Park in the summertime and paint. I was at a summer camp, but I had a wonderful artist, Fran Gage, who kept me going during the summer, and I did a lot of sketching basically at that time. Then I moved to New York and met my husband. I came here to do graduate work in art history at NYU, and I met a professor at Brooklyn College, a geologist, and the two of us spent a lot of years traveling together during the summer when he was off work, and I got to paint in a lot of the Southwest, as he loved rocks more than, he liked the environments where there were principally rocks. And so we traveled and I painted. Plein air painting is really my specialty. And in that case, I used to paint. I used to carry oils, but also watercolors, crayons, anything I could get my hands on, paperwork. And so it's a long field. I joined Blue Mountain Gallery in 1980 when it formed. 1979, I think it was formed, and I had my first show in 1980 here. So I've been showing here on a regular basis, and I also show upstate, where I bought a property with my husband in 1978, I believe it was. We bought the houses that belonged to J. Francis Murphy and Ada Murphy, who are still recognized as very good artists today. J. Francis Murphy was a tonalist, so I had a wonderful studio there and many years of delightful painting in the Catskills. Most of the paintings in this show are Catskill paintings, and they were painted between the years of, my last show in this gallery was 2016, and I was slated to show in 2020, but COVID got in the way, so I just went to the bottom of the list and showed, now this is my show. Most of this work was done during the COVID period, so I painted a lot of it from my studio window or nearby where I could get to. Upstate, we stayed, during the first part of COVID, luckily my daughter was able to be up there with me, and we stayed there for 8 months. And then came back to the city, and we're up there again during the summer months. However, this painting is very close to my old house. I had to sell the house. My husband died in 2018 of acute leukemia. And this little place where you see the light in the painting was the old driveway to my property for many, many years. 40 years we had a place there. And then really the paintings that you see on this wall were all plein air paintings. The one at the far right is part of a series that I painted from my studio window in the house where I moved to after I sold my property in 2020, just before COVID started. Actually, I sold my property upstate because I could no longer look after it without my husband, and I didn't want to stay there without him. I moved to a small village, Halkettsville, and several of the paintings here represent the back area of my house that I've been in for a very short time. And when I looked at the house, 10 minutes, I said, I can make this big bottom room my studio. That's all I was interested in, really, is finding a place to have a studio which I could control. And so I made the main part of the downstairs area into a studio. And various people visited, and they said, yes, I remember having dinner here. And I said, well, you won't be having dinner here now, because this is my studio. And so the views from the window, there's a number of paintings in this show that I actually painted straight from that studio window during the first 8 months of COVID. I'll show you which ones they are. Well, this one actually was painted in the spring of that year, so that was a little later. But there are others in the show. The one behind us, way at the end of the snow one, that was painted from the studio window. You'll notice there's a building behind in it. That was my neighbor's barn, and I use that motif a lot in my paintings in this series. This one also was painted the same view, but you can see it's very different subject. I worked in a different way, put in 2 trees, and just I focus on the atmosphere. When it was something that I would paint quickly, when it was looked like this. So some of them are very sketchy, and others I was able to work up longer. And here is a painting that was actually done during the late fall, actually. It's a little later. And it also shows that building, but you can see that I've mainly been using the front of the building, which is in the back, as a part of a motif to structure the paintings. But these paintings are 90% plein air paintings, but when I get them back into my studio, sometimes they go through a metamorphosis. The metamorphosis usually has something to do with light. I love light, and like this little painting here, I painted it with another member in this gallery, and she couldn't get over what I did to the painting after we were outside. And what I did was this light was really what I was interested in, the way it was illuminating those trees, and I just went for it and brought up that feature. So you can see that in my show it's called emerging, and I'm emerging. My landscapes kind of emerge. I start in a wide area, and then I kind of focus on something that really draws my interest. I'm not interested in getting the exact representation of the landscape as it would look in an architecture drawing or of that nature. I'm mainly interested in color and light. So those are my subject matters. And
thank you very much.
You're welcome.